So we move to the next news video, and that is we uh we have news on Osprey, on Will Osprey, Ronda Rousey, potential budget cuts within WWE, and a whole lot more. So without further ado and without further delay, let's get into it. Um, Basically, we have an update on Ronda Rousey, and that is that Ronda Rousey is still not featured on programming because she is still not medically cleared from the previous arm injury that she sustained leading into WrestleMania. Um, I mean, it is not surprising that there are people within the WWE that are showing the effects of the schedule or showing the effects of previously held injuries because it is something that is expected at this point, as there are a lot of people that, whether smart or not, work through injuries because of the fact that it's WrestleMania season and they don't want to miss out on being a part of the biggest show of the year. So that's why you would see people like Ronda Rousey, who worked WrestleMania, now missing time because of the fact that she worked WrestleMania and may have not been at 100%. Same with Gargano, same with Becky Lynch. There are people within WWE that, because they worked WrestleMania, are now showing the effects of working the event because they didn't want to miss out on the biggest event of the year. I wish nothing but the best to Ronda Rousey and hope that she can get back to television sooner rather than later, because of the fact that I think her working with Shayna Baszler in the tag team division would finally be enough to bring some stability and consistency to the tag team division in the women's division. Um, now we slide over to something that is being made a lot of, and that is anytime WWE speaks about potential budget cuts, it is something that I know a lot of people stare at with bated breath because of what WWE did in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic and refer to it as budget cuts. I don't think it will be like that. Honestly, I don't think it will be like that. I think it will be more fixated on certain departments and will be more fixated in certain avenues of the company and not specifically focused on the talent like it was during the pandemic. Because I think WWE also learned their lesson during the pandemic that if you cut too many people on the roster, you lose depth, and the worst thing you could do is cut depth from the roster, because there's a difference between having a bloated roster and a deep roster, and right now WWE does not have either. They have a decent roster, but I wouldn't say they have a deep one. But the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of what Nick Khan was referring to is expected and anticipated budget cuts due to the merger. So it's going to be a lot of departmental mergers, and that some people may be cut because of the fact that they're not necessarily needed as much anymore, or like numbers are not needed as much anymore because of the fact that the company is merging with UFC, and that departments will be shared between UFC and WWE. Certain departments will be shared within UFC and WWE. So I think 50 million is a little bit like maybe excess, but I also don't think that necessarily, like, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it shouldn't just be WWE cutting people. It should be, if WWE and UFC are merging, then it should be where UFC cuts people too. You know what I mean? Because it shouldn't just be where WWE's, team has to fit into the UFC picture. It should be where WWE and UFC create their own shared picture. Even though somebody might say, what do you know about a merger? It's like, well, you don't want resentment between the two companies merging because everyone from one company got fired and the other company is the the golden child, and then WWE is the redheaded stepchild. You know what I mean? So again, you don't need to know nothing about mergers. You just have to know resentment and shit like that, and that if you go too far one way, it's bound to lead to resentment between one company to another. It's that simple. But that's something we gotta wait and see. As even Nick Khan said, that budget cuts, or those budget cuts, will not take place right away. They will take place over the next couple of months. So it's something that we have to keep an eye on, rather than something that we can expect to happen in the not too distant future. But something that we can expect to happen in the not too distant future is on June 17th, AEW has a new program starting, and that is AEW Collision on June 17th. It is a new 2-hour program set to take place on Saturdays. I really don't know what to say, because I don't know that AEW needs another broadcast, especially with the status of Rampage. Especially with the status of Rampage in question. I don't know that the company needs another show. I don't know that the company needs another show. And the fact of the matter is, if you sit there and wonder, oh well, the company needs another show, blah 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 blah. I disagree that the company needs another show. I disagree that the company needs another show because of the fact that if you're going to sit here and tell me that the company needs another show, explain to me why it needs another show, and can't just make do with the shows that they have, because they have 4 shows, 2 on YouTube and then 2 on television. I mean, it's my understanding that the reason why they're going with another show is because that is part of the plan, as I think Warner Brothers Discovery likes what they're getting from AEW, and they want more from AEW as far as programming, and, Tony Khan, much to oblige. I don't blame him for obliging. I blame Warner Brothers Discovery for not knowing overexposure. But I do think that, for lack of a better word, that if anything, AEW would benefit from having another show with a hard brand split in place, because it would force them to do what I've said with Rampage, that they should do with Rampage for the last 3 months, and that is have people specifically appear on Rampage, and have those people that specifically appear on Rampage be people that don't get seen on Dynamite. Simple as that. Just have it be people that don't get seen on Dynamite. But now, if they're going to do anything, it's the fact that they want to set up what exactly I said, and have it be where people are in a position, to appear on one brand and not on the other. So, isn't that exactly what I said? Or am I, basically AEW is doing exactly what I said they should do, but they're doing it with a brand split. I just said, no need for a brand split. Just make it where just book it that way. Have certain people work one show, have certain people work the other. You don't need a brand split, just book them on one show and not the other. But either way, I think this would be good for AEW, and also the return of CM Punk would be very good for AEW. I just hope that they could be adults about it and eventually work things out, And I just want to make clear that unless I miss something, Punk and Jericho are not guaranteed to be feuding when Punk returns. It is rumored that Punk and Jericho will be feuding when Punk returns. It is not expected that Punk and Jericho will be feuding when Punk returns. Don't get it twisted. But now we shift over to what I believe to be the last bit of news. What I believe to be the last bit of news, and that is about Will Osprey. The reason why I held this back until last is because I felt like it was the right thing to do to hold this back until last, as basically Will Osprey made it clear that he was medically cleared a couple of days ago to return to the ring. But at this point, he did not. Basically, he did not just say, "Oh well, blah 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 blah. I'm ready to return to the ring," because he went on and just talked about how he's changed his in-ring style, how when he realized a couple years ago that he could not safely execute a shooting star press anymore, he needed to cut it from his repertoire. But that over the last couple of years, injuries have mounted, and it's because he's getting older, it's because he's getting leaner, and basically it's making it harder to stay healthy. So that he doesn't know, he basically admitted that he doesn't know how much longer he could do this. And the fact that Will Ospreay may be hanging up the boots sooner rather than later is a surreal sight, because he's been probably the most talked about person in the wrestling world since I can remember, to be honest with you. But I mean, it's props to him for wanting to go out on his terms. I just hope he's ready. I just hope if he does go out, he goes out with everything checked off his list. And that's what he's doing now. He's setting up a list, sort of like a bucket list. And, that he gets everything checked off his list before it's time for him to hang it up. Or that's what causes him to hang it up, that he checks everything off his list. Because he has said that his career has been incredible to this point, and he's defied what his expectations were. But you never want to hear anything about somebody potentially retiring before their time. And I think right now, Osprey retiring would be before his time. But either way, it's up to him, and I much prefer seeing people leave on their terms as opposed to being forced out. So props to Osprey for thinking about it, but I wish it was under different circumstances. Either way, I'll see you in the next one.